It's Nick Aiton here. I'm doing a afternoon walk with the dogs actually, and as you can see, it's a fab day. I'm down on the peninsula looking out to sea, and actually there's a big tall ship that's just gone out. Perfect conditions for sailing, bit of wind, bit of breeze, and pretty flat waters. We've been talking a lot about baselining where we are with the things around us in terms of the opportunities, and I speak a lot with families, and I guess I poll their opinions. I offer my own opinions, of course, and I've had quite a few conversations recently about what they're going to do in the next 6, 12, 18, 24 months, and I have to say that I think the general outlook is one of being cautiously optimistic, but of course families who've been around for quite a while, they have always done well in downturn markets because they move to cash and then they look for bargains and they go bargain hunting, typically around real estate and other asset classes where they know it's going to bounce back quite quickly. But the question I always get asked is, so where else to find opportunities? And there are lots of opportunities, of course, and when you get a downturn market, and we're going to get squeezed, we've got the supply chain being squeezed, of course, post-COVID. It's still not returned. You had the COVID lockdown in China, of course. We have, especially in agriculture and other commodities, we have obviously the Ukraine situation. We have a formulation of nations who are pegging their currency to physical assets or gold. We also have quite a lot of nations getting a bit fed up with the US dollar, and also the central banks have been found out, haven't they? And there is quite a lot of anti-sentiment towards certain things going on. So the World Economic Forum, I think, has been called out somewhat, and the United Nations has once again been found wanting, as the G7, frankly. I think a bunch of silly old fools by and large, and what are they doing? We don't know. Changing the law actually to stay in power, that's what they're doing. So where do you find value? If you're a family, where do you go hunting? Well, let's not forget that when markets contract and when industries contract, it forces them to change. So COVID forced the airline industry to change because, and they still haven't really got there, but they're a legacy Web 1 moving into Web 2 world where it's all centralized. They don't really understand the customer. They analyze the data and they plan for next year's marketing. Where, of course, the world's moved on to Web 3, which is doing all of that in real time, incentivizing the passenger to spend and earn, and giving them some control over their data and rewarding them for that. But it's real time, so you're catching them on the fly, and you're influencing their behavior. And a lot of industries are going to go that way. But I also think that we're all living longer. We all get ill. Some of us get ill, unfortunately, and it shortens our runway. So therefore, medtech, biotech, synthetic biology, it's accelerating. The money and the advancement in technology is significant, and in a rising and a falling market, you could do worse. It's a specialist area, of course, but a lot of families do quite like it. They are nervous of anything that's pre-FDA approval, of course, but because then the risk factor is high. But there's some really good stuff going on, and I've tried some of these things. Rapid blood testing in minutes rather than having to go to a lab. I've tried some microvascular testing, which identifies very, very early conditions that you may have that might shorten your runway. So in terms of finding opportunities, the families, there's lots of opportunity, but what we're also seeing is the willingness of families to cooperate and collaborate with each other. And there are families, of course, that prefer to lead. They may have a tied private equity shop, and they like to do their own thing and call the shots. But invariably, we're noticing that you know, families are more interested in sharing. Whether that's a case of spreading the risk or the perception of spreading the risk, who knows? I suspect it probably is both those. So families, you know, they've been around a long time. The successful ones know how to protect their wealth and grow their wealth, and of course they quite like downturns. They rub their hands, and many have moved to cash, and they're going to go bargain hunting. But my view is also, it's just not about real estate. It's not just about, you know, safe haven stuff. And, you know, funds by and large are not delivering. VC funds are exposed, especially the ones that are all over digital assets. And VCs are their own worst enemy, of course, because they pump the valuation. Of course, now the bubble's burst. And the crypto world has gone the same way. I mean, they've pumped it too hard, and the reality is it's not underpinned by anything. So families, yeah, they are strange organisations sometimes. We need them, they're important, and they are a lot of savvy ones. There is a lot more families going direct because the funds are not offering the returns. But with interest rates climbing, you know, they don't mind holding a bit of cash, of course, providing inflation doesn't go wild. So families, yeah, lots going on. We've got to tempt them, but there is lots of deal flow out there. So talk soon.